Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Welcome and thank you for stopping by. It's fantastic you are here. Well, I trust you enjoyed my last video on iconic 60s bands, The Doors. And through them, we talked about them being in the right place with the right lyrics at the right time and transforming their generation. So I trust you found that one an encouragement. We're going from there to a bunch of guys that were formed in New Zealand in 1972. But it's when they came to Australia, Sydney in 1975, and through the iconic Aussie rock show in the 70s, Countdown, these guys became rather big. In fact, a few of their songs are considered classics in Australia and certainly part of the Great Australian Songbook. Who we're talking about? Dragon. And when you think about Dragon, you think of Mark and Todd Hunter in particular. But there have been lots of people in Dragon over the years. So certainly they were quite big in the 1970s, but there have been some gaps in this career as well between 1980 and 1983. And it was unfortunately around 1998 that Mark Hunter succumbed to lung cancer, and he's no longer with us. Of course, Mark was the iconic frontman for Dragon, and pretty well it was his image that got these guys to be quite popular in Australia in particular. Between 1974 and 2018, and given that there has been some breaks in there, there's been 16 studio albums. It's interesting to note here that Dragon has continued on, and that's pretty brave of Todd Hunter, his brother, to be able to keep that going and bringing people together. Dragon's just one of these guys, one of these bands that musicians just come to help and to help out, and so they've been able to keep it going. It's really, really cool. Australia has this kind of uniqueness about it, which is really, really cool. They've released 16 studio albums, 5 live albums, 9 compilation albums, 2 EPs, and 33 singles. So, relatively a lot of music there, really, in that space of time, given the breaks and all the rest of it. They were inducted into the New Zealand Music Hall of Fame in 2011, the ARIA Hall of Fame in 2008. ARIA stands for Australian Record Industry Association. So they have been acknowledged by the industry in Australia and New Zealand, which is well deserved by these guys, that is for sure. Now, when a lot of people met Dragon through the song April Sun in Cuba, they came from the Running Free album in 1977. But the thing I love about these guys is, although they were into pop, they really stretched the envelope in production. There's some really quite amazing songs that these guys have produced. In fact, when I started this series off a little while ago, Dragon was one of the early artists I did, and that was back when I had a different format than I do now. And so I've come back to these guys today, and in that particular video, I talked about Rain, which is probably my favourite Dragon song, and so we're coming back to them today. So there's many songs. You know, we got Wilder World, Are You Old Enough, Speak No Evil, Younger Years. This list just goes on and on and on, and these guys are just so talented and so creative. It's not funny. I suppose the song I did want to go to today when we look at Dragon is the song Younger Years. This opened the 1989 album Bondi Road. And at this point, you know, Dragon was still relatively big, and, you know, a Dragon release was pretty significant. This song is obviously Younger Years. When you think about Younger Years, we're talking about the fact we're looking back on our lives and thinking, wow, what was it like when we were younger? And in the case of Dragon, they certainly look back in those years with fondness. You know, our wings were drying in the sun, and we were really, really going for it. And, you know, we were getting quite popular, and you know, it's such a good time. This is not always a story for all of us, though. Sometimes we look back and think, oh man, if I could talk to my younger self now, I'd be saying a few things to them, that is for sure. But it's interesting, and I've questioned this myself. When I was in primary school, I got beat up as a kid pretty much, and I look back at those photos and think, man, what a wimp, what a weakling. Um, but you know what? When we're like 10, 12 years old, we don't know much about the world really. We're working out what these things called people are. We're trying to understand them, and we're trying to find our place in the world. We don't know hardly anything at that age. And so, we can't look back in hindsight and blame our younger selves for where we come from, because we probably didn't know much back then. We were working life out. So how often do we sort of look back, we look in the mirror, we look at a photo, and we think, how dare you put me in the situation you're in? What about the choice you made then? That wasn't such a good one. Look where I am right now. Well, I think, yes, certainly we can look at choices in the past, but I think the main thing is we learn from them, and if we need to make a change, we make a change. But at the time, we make a decision with what we know about ourselves at the time. The last thing we want to do is beat ourselves up for a decision we've made, because we wouldn't have known any better back then. We know better now, but certainly not back then. So I think if I think a positive to take about this, and I was thinking about this for myself as I look at those wimpy photos of mine, is that I'm still here. I'm 56 now. I'm still here, and I'm still I'm trying to make a positive difference in the world. I'm not being bitter, and I'm not trying to get angry. I'm just trying to make a positive difference, be a good human being, and all the rest of it. And so I'm trying my best. And I could look back and think, well, yeah, okay, Trevor, so you're not so confident, you're not so self-assured. That's probably going to be with you for the rest of your life. But that has enabled me to have conversations with people, because I kind of understand where people are a bit scared it comes from. So I suppose I can look back at that younger kid, and that younger scared kid really in lots of ways, and think, well, I still have stuff to thank him for, because he did make me the person I am today. Perhaps a little bit more empathetic, and a little bit, but perhaps a bit oversensitive, but that's okay. We learn this stuff as we go. So when I look back at my younger years, yes, it was a bit of a challenge, but the fact that I'm still going on, the fact that I'm still here at the age of 56, and life's not too bad. Maybe the younger years weren't as bad as I thought. So I think the encouragement for all of us today is, as we do look back on our younger selves, let's be a bit kind to them. Let's not blame them for everything that's gone wrong, because just remember, a kid at the age of 10 to 12 doesn't know that much really. And so, we can only make decisions on what we know about ourselves at the time, as we're doing right now. Now, we have the benefit of hindsight, but even now, if we're in our 50s or 40s or whatever, we've got years ahead of us, and we might look back at a decision we made when we were 40 thinking, oh, okay, or it might have been a good decision. I suppose the main thing we can learn about decision making is we think about, is it going to benefit everybody? Is it going to benefit people around us as well as ourselves? I think we can at least decide on that basis. So let's be kind to our younger selves. This is I suppose, inspiration behind this Dragon song today. Well, on to the clips. And we do have Younger Years. This is, as I said, off the album Bondi Road 1989. This is the opening track, and the minute the guitar starts playing here, it's just, you're hooked in from the minute you hear it. So very much the Hunter Boys here at the start, just thinking back and reflecting on where they come from. And of course, when you think about Dragon, you've got to put April, Sun and Cuba in there. That is the iconic, I want to get away from the winter months and get into somewhere a bit more nice, and then think about Cuba with its iconic tropical beaches and the rest of it. That came off the album Running Free of 1977, and this is the iconic official clip that everybody in Australia knows. It was certainly around that time. So we've got April, Sun and Cuba. And as I said before, there was something a bit progressive about these guys and the way they played and the way they produced. And certainly in the middle of the 1980s album, The Dreams of Ordinary Men was a very significant album for Dragon. What was, as I've said a few times, what was it about 1985? Every artist seemed to be putting out their best album in that year, and this is no exception for Dragon. And the song Speak No Evil is a pretty amazing song. And we're very fortunate in this situation to see a live version of this one. So you'll get to see Mark Hunter here singing, and rest in peace to him, and certainly my condolences to the Hunter family for what was an iconic person in the Australian music industry. Really sad when he died, and we all felt it a little bit. It's just when you look back and see him singing here, you think, oh, he's no longer around. It makes you think a little bit. So Speak No Evil is a fantastic song. One of the certainly very progressive with the use of keyboards, and just the whole thing is pretty good. And so we've got a live version of Speak No Evil. And I've also included my last video from The Doors. So if you want to catch up on that one, feel free. Well, if you've come back for another one, or if this is your first time to Life Reflections Through Music, so good for everybody to be here, and thank you for hanging around to the end. That's always the encouragement when you click on one of my videos, because we don't just react here, we reflect. So I trust you found this reflection today and encouragement, which is the main reason I do these videos. Well, that's it for today. Next time, as these guys were big in Australia, well, actually they were probably more bigger in the 70s and 80s. When we think about the 1980s worldwide, we think about these guys in particular. We're going to come back to Duran Duran. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.